At some point, you stop feeling like yourself. But nothing obvious is wrong. You're functioning. You're showing up. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Yet something feels distant, muted, disconnected. You're not depressed in the way people talk about depression. You're not broken. You're just not fully here. You move through conversations on autopilot. You make decisions that don't feel like they come from you. You react instead of choosing. And when you're alone, there's a quiet emptiness you can't quite name. This isn't weakness. It's not laziness. And it's not something you fix by thinking positive. This video is about why men slowly lose connection to themselves, how it happens without them noticing, and more importantly, how to come back without becoming cold, bitter, or detached from life. Because when a man is disconnected from himself, everything else starts to drift too. His boundaries, his confidence, his direction, and eventually his sense of meaning. And the moment you understand what caused the disconnection, you stop trying to fix the wrong things and start rebuilding from the inside out. Disconnection doesn't happen overnight. It's not one event, it's a pattern. Most men don't wake up one day feeling lost. They drift there quietly, by adapting too much for too long. It starts when you learn that parts of you are inconvenient. Your emotions get labeled as overreactions. Your instincts get questioned. Your boundaries get challenged. So you soften them. You delay them. You ignore them. You tell yourself you're being mature, reasonable, easy to deal with. But what you're really doing is trading authenticity for approval. Over time, you stop asking yourself what you actually want. You start asking what will keep things smooth, what will avoid conflict, what will keep people comfortable. That's the first fracture. Then comes performance mode. You learn how to act confident instead of feeling grounded, how to appear calm instead of being regulated, how to function instead of being aligned. From the outside, you look fine. From the inside, you feel distant from your own decisions. This is where men start saying things like, "I don't know why I feel off. I should be happy, but I'm not. I feel like I'm just going through the motions." Because the truth is, when you constantly override your internal signals, your nervous system eventually stops sending them clearly. You don't lose yourself because you're weak. You lose yourself because you learn to survive by disconnecting. And until you understand that this disconnection was once a coping strategy, you'll keep trying to fix it with motivation, discipline, or distractions, none of which address the root. The goal isn't to become harder, it's to become honest again. Once a man disconnects from himself, it doesn't feel like a problem at first. It feels like relief. Presence requires risk. Feeling requires exposure. Listening to your intuition means you might have to disappoint people, change direction, or confront something uncomfortable. Disconnection, on the other hand, feels controlled. When you stay numb, you don't feel rejection as deeply. When you stay distracted, you don't have to face dissatisfaction. When you stay busy, you don't have to sit with questions you don't yet have answers to. So the nervous system learns a simple rule. Distance equals safety. That's why many men throw themselves into work, training, routines, or productivity without ever slowing down. It looks disciplined, but underneath, it's avoidance. You're not calm, you're buffered. You're not focused, you're dissociated. You're not stoic, you're shut down. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to tell the difference. This is also why men often say they feel nothing after breakups, failures, or major life shifts, until months later when it all hits at once. Your system didn't process the experience, it postponed it. Disconnection becomes dangerous when it starts replacing self-trust. You stop knowing when to walk away. You stop noticing when something feels wrong. You ignore the quiet internal signals that used to guide you. That's how men end up staying in relationships they don't respect, careers they don't believe in, and identities they outgrew years ago. Not because they want to, but because they no longer feel the internal pull to change. This isn't a personality flaw. It's a nervous system pattern built to keep you functional. But survival mode is not the same as alignment. And the longer you stay disconnected, the more effort it takes to feel anything real again. Which is why men often mistake intensity, chaos, or drama for aliveness. Your system is trying to feel something. The solution isn't forcing emotion. It's learning how to feel safely again. When disconnection lasts long enough, it stops being a phase and starts becoming who you are. This is where most men don't realize what's happening. You don't wake up one day feeling lost. You slowly stop feeling yourself. You make decisions based on logic alone. You tolerate situations longer than you should. You adapt instead of choosing. From the outside, you look stable. From the inside, you feel hollow. Because identity isn't built by thinking, it's built by feeling alignment. When you're connected to yourself, you feel a quiet yes or no in your body. You know when something fits. You know when it doesn't. But when you're disconnected, that signal goes silent. So you borrow direction from the outside. Other people's expectations, social approval, relationship dynamics, status, routines, validation. You start living reactively instead of intentionally. This is how men wake up years later asking, "How did I end up here? Why doesn't this feel like my life? Why am I doing everything right but feeling nothing?" Because you didn't choose this identity. You drifted into it. This connection also explains why some men stay calm in situations they shouldn't tolerate. Not because they're emotionally strong, but because they're emotionally offline. They confuse numbness for maturity. They confuse detachment for self-mastery. They confuse endurance for purpose. And the danger is this. When you don't feel connected to yourself, you'll accept almost anything that gives you structure. A controlling relationship, a draining job, a role that keeps you needed but not fulfilled. Because at least it gives you a shape. Real strength isn't losing emotion. It's being able to feel without being controlled by what you feel. And until that connection is restored, no amount of discipline, success, or external respect will make you feel whole. You'll still feel like you're playing a version of yourself, instead of living as one. Reconnection doesn't happen by forcing motivation or finding yourself in some dramatic way. It happens quietly, and it's uncomfortable at first. Because the moment you reconnect, you start feeling again. The things you've been avoiding surface. Resentment you buried. Grief you postponed. Anger you told yourself wasn't allowed. Desires you convinced yourself were unrealistic. That's why many men stay disconnected. Not because they can't reconnect, but because reconnection feels destabilizing. When you start listening to yourself again, certain parts of your life stop making sense. Some relationships feel off. Some goals feel empty. Some habits feel like escapes instead of discipline. And that creates friction. But here's the truth. That discomfort is not regression. It's alignment recalibrating. Reconnection doesn't mean becoming emotional or impulsive. It means restoring internal feedback. You begin to notice when you're forcing yourself, when you're over-explaining, when you're shrinking to keep peace, when you're tolerating things you don't respect. You stop asking, "Is this reasonable?" and start asking, "Is this right for me?" That's the shift. A connected man still feels pressure. He still experiences doubt. He still has emotional responses, but he doesn't abandon himself to avoid discomfort. He doesn't numb. He doesn't explode. He doesn't disappear. He stays present. This is where calm becomes grounded, not detached. This is where boundaries feel natural, not aggressive. This is where confidence becomes quiet, not performative. Reconnection also changes how you relate to others. You stop trying to be understood by people who don't listen. You stop chasing closeness with those who can't meet you. You stop explaining your worth, not because you're cold, but because you're clear. And clarity is something disconnected men don't have. They overthink. They second guess. They wait for permission. A connected man doesn't need permission. He needs alignment. This is the phase where your life starts simplifying. Less noise, fewer justifications, cleaner decisions. And while it doesn't feel explosive, it feels solid. Like you're finally standing on your own ground again. Feeling disconnected doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been surviving instead of listening. Reconnection isn't about reinventing yourself or becoming someone new. It's about returning to the part of you that knows when something is wrong and has the strength to act on it. When you reconnect, life doesn't suddenly get easier. It gets clearer. You stop chasing what drains you. You stop explaining what you already know. You stop abandoning yourself just to keep things familiar. That's not isolation. That's self-respect rebuilding. And once you're connected again, you don't need constant motivation, validation, or reassurance. Your decisions come from alignment, not fear. If this video put words to something you've been feeling but couldn't explain, stay with the work. Clarity compounds. And this is where it starts.